Breaking Bad isn't just a show about a chemistry teacher cooking meth. It's a show about betrayal. Over 5 seasons, Vince Gilligan built a story that shows us how trust falls apart, how people turn on each other, and how loyalty stops meaning anything when survival is on the line. Every main character in this show either stabs someone in the back or gets stabbed themselves. Most of the time they get both. And the show makes this point over and over. Betrayal doesn't happen all at once. It builds. Small lies lead to bigger lies. One broken promise makes the next one easier. Before you know it, normal people become monsters. So let's go through every major betrayal in Breaking Bad. What happened, why it mattered, and what it cost. The early betrayals. Crazy 8, the snitch. Before Walt even starts cooking, Betrayal is already running the drug game in Albuquerque. Crazy 8 looks like a regular low-level dealer working with his cousin Emilio, but Crazy 8 is a rat. He's been feeding information to the DEA. He's the one who got Emilio's lab busted, and he did it for his own freedom. When Emilio gets out and thinks Jesse snitched on him, that's what kicks off the entire series. Walt ends up having to deal with Crazy 8, and here's the messed up part. Crazy 8 almost talks his way out of it. While chained up in Jesse's basement, Crazy 8 actually connects with Walt. They talk about their lives, their families, and Walt starts feeling bad for the guy. He decides to let him go. Then he notices a piece of broken plate is missing. Crazy 8 hid it. He was going to stab Walt the second he got free. The guy who ratted out his own cousin tried to kill the one person showing him mercy. That's Breaking Bad telling you right from the start. Trust will get you killed. Gray Matter, Walt's first self-betrayal. Before any of the meth, before Heisenberg, Walt betrayed himself. When his old friends Gretchen and Elliot offered to pay for his cancer treatment, Walt says no. They genuinely want to help, but Walt can't handle taking charity. His ego won't let him accept help from people he feels inferior to. So instead of taking the clean way out, Walt starts cooking meth. He tells himself it's for his family. He tells himself he has no choice. In the finale, though, Walt finally admits the truth to Skyler.
I did it for me. I liked it. I was good at it. I was alive.
After years of feeling like a failure, being Heisenberg made him feel like he mattered. That's the real reason he turned down Gray Matter's money. Ego. Walter White's betrayals. Letting Jane die. This is the moment Walt crosses a line he can never come back from. He walks into Jesse's apartment and finds Jesse and Jane passed out after doing heroin. Jane rolls onto her back and starts choking on her own vomit. Walt's first instinct is to help her. He reaches out, and then he stops. He just stands there and watches her die. The writers originally wanted Walt to push Jane onto her back and cause her death directly, but they thought that was too evil too fast. So instead they went with something almost worse. Walt making a choice in real time to do nothing. Jane had threatened him. She was taking Jesse away from the business. She was a liability. So Walt did the math and decided she had to go. Years later in season 5, Walt tells Jesse the truth about Jane, but he doesn't confess because he feels guilty. He does it to hurt Jesse when Jesse's already at his lowest. Snitching on Jesse to Gus. In season 3, Jesse learns that Gus's dealer used 11-year-old Tomas, Andrea's little brother, to kill his friend Combo. Furious, Jesse plans to murder the dealers for revenge. Walt warns Jesse it's suicide, then immediately tells Gus about the plan. He claims it's to protect Jesse, but really it's to protect the business and his own position. Gus forces a tense truce and bans the use of children, but the dealers kill Tomas anyway. Devastated, Jesse goes after them with a gun, and Walt races to the scene and runs both dealers over with his car, killing them to save Jesse. But the core betrayal still stands. Walt ratted out his partner to their boss to protect his empire. Poisoning Brock. This is Walt at his absolute worst. Walt poisons Brock, Andrea's 6-year-old son, using Lily of the Valley, a plant he kept in his backyard. The method is never explicitly shown, but Walt somehow administered it to a child to serve his own agenda. The goal? Manipulate Jesse.
If you think that I am capable of doing this, then go. Put a bullet in my head Kill me right now.
Walt has Huell lift the rice and cigarette from Jesse's pockets, then poisons Brock non-lethally to make Jesse believe Gus did it with ricin. Jesse buys the lie, sides with Walt, and helps kill Gus. Jesse doesn't learn the truth until season 5 when he realizes Huell pickpocketed him, proving Walt orchestrated everything, including poisoning a child just to turn Jesse against Gus. That's the betrayal that shatters everything and kicks off the final downfall. Manipulating Jesse about the ricin. The Brock poisoning is horrifying enough on its own, but what Walt does to Jesse's mind afterward might be even worse. After Huell lifts the ricin cigarette, Jesse thinks he lost it. He tears his house apart looking for it. He rips up floorboards, he empties every drawer, every pocket, every piece of furniture. He's convinced he's responsible, that his carelessness might have killed a child. Jesse is already fragile. He's already carrying guilt from Gale, from everything he's done, and now Walt has him believing he almost murdered his girlfriend's son through sheer negligence. Walt watches Jesse spiral. He watches him blame himself. And then Walt shows up with a fake replacement cigarette, finding it in Jesse's Roomba, letting Jesse believe it was there all along, that he panicked over nothing, that Brock was poisoned by Gus, not by Jesse's mistake. The relief Jesse feels, it's not real. Walt created the panic, then created the solution. He broke Jesse down psychologically and rebuilt him as a weapon pointed at Gus. This is gaslighting at its most calculated. Walt didn't just poison a child, he made Jesse believe Jesse was capable of poisoning a child. He tortured his partner's sanity to serve his own agenda. That's why Jesse goes to Hank. That's why he's willing to burn it all down. Walt didn't just hurt him, Walt made Jesse hurt himself. Making Jesse kill Gale. Gale Boetticher was a good man, a nerdy chemist who loved his work and just wanted to cook quality product.
Why the hell are we making meth?
He looked up to Walt. He admired him. But when Gus decides to have Gale learn Walt's recipe so he can eliminate Walt, Walt realizes it's kill or be killed. Problem is, Walt can't do it himself. Mike has him at gunpoint, so Walt calls Jesse and tells him to go kill Gale right now or they're both dead. Jesse shows up at Gale's apartment. Gale begs for his life. Jesse's crying, shaking, and he pulls the trigger anyway. Jesse had never killed anyone before that moment. Walt made him a murderer. That guilt eats at Jesse for the rest of the show, and it never goes away. Killing Mike. Mike never liked Walt. He saw through all of Walt's bullshit from day one. He tolerated Walt because he had to, but he never respected him. When Mike refuses to give up the names of the guys in prison who might talk, Walt shoots him. It's pure ego, pure rooted pride, and Walt didn't even need to do it. He realizes immediately after that he could have just asked Lydia for the names.
I just realized that Lydia has the names. I can get them from her.
Mike's dying words say everything.
Let me die in peace.
The prison murders. After Mike dies, Walt needs to eliminate the 10 men in prison who were getting paid to stay quiet. He hires Jack's neo-Nazi crew to kill all of them simultaneously, in 3 different prisons within a 2-minute window. These men trusted that keeping their mouths shut would keep them safe. Instead, they got shanked, strangled, beaten, and burned alive. Walt watches the clock and waits for confirmation. It's done. Betraying Hank. Walt doesn't just lie to Hank. He actively sabotages him, manipulates him, and ultimately gets him killed. Throughout the series, Walt uses his relationship with Hank as a shield. He plays the weak, dying brother-in-law while building a drug empire right under Hank's nose. Every family dinner, every conversation, every moment of connection, all of it is Walt hiding in plain sight. One of the cruelest examples comes in season 3. Hank tracks Jesse's RV to a junkyard while Walt is still inside. Walter is trapped. If Hank gets into the RV, it's over. So Walt calls Saul, and Saul has his secretary Francesca call Hank pretending to be from the hospital.
I'm sorry to inform you that your wife's been in an automobile accident.
Hank races to the hospital in a panic, terrified his wife is hurt or dying. Meanwhile, the RV gets destroyed and all the evidence disappears. When Hank realizes it was a trick, when Marie calls him confused, perfectly fine, he's humiliated and enraged. Walt used Hank's love for his wife as a weapon. He exploited his brother-in-law's deepest vulnerability to save himself. Later in season 5, Hank connects the dots.
That call I got, tell me Marie was in the hospital. That wasn't Pinkman. You had my cell number.
And then there's the desert. Walt calls the Nazis to kill Jesse, knowing Hank is pursuing him. He tries to call them off when he sees Hank and Gomez are right there, but it's too late.
Forget it. Don't come.
A shootout happens, Gomez dies, and Hank gets hit. Walt begs Jack to spare Hank. He offers all $80 million, everything he has. But Hank knows what's coming. His final words to Walt.
You're the smartest guy I ever met. And you're too stupid to see. He made up his mind 10 minutes ago.
Jack shoots Hank in the head. The man who sat at Hank's bedside during his recovery, who let Hank pay for family dinners, who accepted Hank's protection and support. The same man is responsible for his death. The fake confession. Walt makes a video where he pretends to confess, but actually blames everything on Hank. He claims Hank was the mastermind who forced Walt to cook for him. He backs it up by pointing out that Hank's medical bills were paid with drug money. Skyler helps him make it. She sits right there while Walt lies. The video makes it impossible for Hank to turn Walt in without destroying himself. Walt weaponized the help he gave Hank during his recovery and turned an act of kindness into leverage. Never letting Jesse leave. Jesse tries to get out of the game multiple times. Every time, Walt drags him back. He guilt trips him, manipulates him, threatens him, and when Jesse wants to take his money and walk away, Walt talks him out of it. Because he can't stand the idea of anything less than an empire, and he can't stand losing control over Jesse. Jesse's freedom means nothing compared to what Walt wants. Giving Jesse to the Nazis. After the shootout in the desert, Walt sees Jesse hiding under a car. He could let him go. Instead, he points him out. The Nazis drag Jesse away to use as a slave cook. And as Jesse gets taken, Walt leans in close and tells him,
I watched Jane die.
Just to hurt him one last time. Jesse Pinkman's betrayals. Not killing Gus. Walt gave Jesse ricin to poison Gus. Jesse had his chance. Dinner at Gus's house. Alone with the man, but he couldn't do it. Jesse claimed it was because they were eating from the same pot and he couldn't find a safe moment, but Walt didn't buy it. Jesse had been there for over 2 hours. And here's how Walt knew. He'd put a GPS tracker on Jesse's car. He knew exactly where Jesse had been and for how long. When Jesse finds out about the tracker, something breaks in him. He'd done everything for Walt, lied for him, killed for him, put his life on the line over and over. But being spied on like he couldn't be trusted, that hurt more than anything else Walt had done. Jesse throws the tracker at Walt's head, and they beat the hell out of each other, trashing Jesse's living room. Jesse wins the fight and tells Walt to get out and never come back.
Hey, get the fuck out of here and never come back.
That's the first time Jesse really pushes back against Walt. Not over some big moral line, it's over trust. Walt treated him like a suspect instead of a partner. Working with Hank. After Jesse figures out Walt poisoned Brock, he goes to the cops. He teams up with Hank, wears a wire, and confesses everything they did together. He tricks Walt by threatening to burn his money, knowing Walt will run straight to where it's hidden. Is this really betrayal? Jesse is turning on a man who poisoned a child, let his girlfriend die, and used him like a tool for years. But in the drug world, going to the police breaks the biggest rule there is. Jesse knows what he's doing, and he does it anyway. Gustavo Fring's betrayals. 20 years of revenge. Gus's entire relationship with the cartel is one long con. In 1989, Don Eladio had Hector Salamanca kill Gus's partner Max right in front of him. Gus had to watch the man he loved bleed out into a swimming pool while he was held at gunpoint, powerless to do anything. So Gus spent 20 years pretending to be loyal while planning to destroy them all. He built Los Pollos Hermanos, he made connections with law enforcement, and he became a respected businessman and community figure. All of it was a front. All of it was preparation. It all comes together in the episode Salud. Gus shows up at Don Eladio's compound with a bottle of expensive tequila. He drinks some himself to prove it's safe. Everyone relaxes, and everyone drinks it. Then Gus excuses himself to the bathroom and forces himself to vomit. The tequila was poisoned, and he'd taken something beforehand to survive it. Within minutes, Don Eladio and all his top men are dead. 20 years of patience paid off in a single afternoon. Cutting Victor's throat. Victor was one of Gus's most loyal men, competent, reliable, and devoted. But after Victor got spotted at Gale's murder scene, Gus walked into the super lab, put on a hazmat suit, and sliced Victor's throat open with a box cutter, right in front of Walt and Jesse without saying a word. The message was clear: loyalty doesn't protect you. Being useful is the only thing that matters, and if you become a liability, nothing else counts. Planning to replace and kill Walt. For a while, Walt thinks he's valuable, irreplaceable even. His meth is the purest on the market, and Gus needs him. But Gus is always thinking 3 steps ahead. He never planned to keep Walt forever. Walt is volatile, unpredictable, and comes with baggage. Namely Jesse, who keeps causing problems. So Gus starts training Gale Bedecker. Gale is everything Walt isn't. Quiet, obedient, grateful, and easy to control. He worships Walt's formula and studies it obsessively. The plan is simple. Once Gale can cook at Walt's level, Walt becomes expendable. Walter figures this out. He sees Gale taking notes, asking questions, and learning the recipe. He realizes Gus is building his replacement. This is a betrayal of their business arrangement. Walt delivered exactly what Gus asked for. Pure product, consistent quality, and massive profits. In return, Gus planned to have him murdered the moment he was no longer necessary. It's coldly logical from Gus's perspective, but it's still betrayal. Gus shook Walt's hand, made him promises, brought him into the operation, all while planning his death. Selling out Nacho. In Better Call Saul, Nacho Varga tries to kill Hector Salamanca by swapping his heart medication. It almost works. Hector has a stroke and ends up in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. But Gus sees Nacho grab the fake pills after Hector collapses. He checks the medical records and he figures out what happened. Now Gus owns him. From that point on, Nacho is Gus's mole inside the Salamanca operation. And the leverage Gus uses? Nacho's father. Help me or your father dies. Nacho does everything Gus asks, including opening the gate for the hit squad that tries to kill Lalo, but once that job is done, Nacho stops being useful. Gus gives up his location to the cartel and sets him up to take the fall for everything. Nacho knows what's coming. Instead of letting the Salamancas torture him or giving Gus the satisfaction of controlling his death, Nacho grabs a gun and shoots himself in the head right in front of them. His last words are for Hector.
I put you in that chair. I opened Lalo's gate, and I would do it again.
Skyler White's betrayals. Skyler's in a tough spot because Walt put her there. Every choice she makes is shaped by her husband's lies. Her affair with Ted is payback for everything Walt has done.
I fucked Ted.
When she tells Walt, I fucked Ted, she's not confessing out of guilt, she's trying to push him away. Trying to reclaim some control over her own life. But Skyler's worst betrayal comes later. She helps Walt make that fake confession video, blaming everything on Hank. She sits right there while her husband frames her own sister's husband for his crimes. By that point, Skyler's in too deep to get out. She's become complicit and she knows it. Ted Beneke's betrayal. Ted Beneke isn't a drug dealer or a killer, but he still manages to betray the one person trying to save him. Skyler gives Ted over $600,000 to pay off his IRS debt. This isn't a gift, it's survival. If Ted goes down, the IRS starts looking at Skyler, and if they look at Skyler, they find Walt's money. So Skyler hands Ted a lifeline. All he has to do is pay the debt and keep his mouth shut. Instead, Ted leases a Mercedes. He takes money meant to save both of them and treats it like a windfall. When Skyler finds out, she's furious. She sends Saul's guys to force Ted to write the check, and Ted panics, tries to run, trips on a rug, and breaks his neck. Ted's betrayal isn't violent or dramatic, it's just selfish and stupid, but it shows how even small betrayals can spiral into disaster. The neo-Nazi betrayals. Jack's double cross. Walt hires Jack Welker's neo-Nazi gang for a single purpose: execute Jesse Pinkman. That's the deal. But Jack sees an opportunity. After the shootout kills Hank and Gomez, Jack's crew digs up Walt's buried money and steals almost all of it, 7 of the 8 barrels. They leave Walt with 1 as a favor, and instead of killing Jesse as contracted, they keep him alive to cook meth for their operation. Walt hired them for a hit, and Jack turned it into a heist and a kidnapping. Classic opportunism, and the setup for Walt's final revenge. Todd kills Andrea. This is one of the coldest moments in the entire series. When Jesse tries to escape from the Nazi compound, Todd doesn't hurt Jesse directly. That would be too easy. Instead, he takes Jesse to Andrea's house in the middle of the night. Todd knocks on the door like everything's normal. Andrea answers, confused but not scared. Todd shoots her in the head while Jesse screams in the car, helpless to do anything.
Just so you know, this isn't personal.
Todd kills Drew Sharp. During the train heist, a kid on a dirt bike sees everything. Drew Sharp. Just a random kid in the wrong place at the wrong time. Todd waves at him and then shoots him. Afterward, Todd keeps the kid's pet tarantula as a souvenir. No remorse, no hesitation, just a problem that needed solving. Other betrayals. Hank's secret investigation. When Hank discovers Walt is Heisenberg, he doesn't report it. He doesn't go to his bosses at the DEA. Instead, he runs his own secret investigation using Jesse as an informant. Hank tells himself he's building a case, but really, it's pride. He wants to be the one who catches Heisenberg. He can't stand the idea of anyone else getting credit, or knowing that Heisenberg was under his nose the whole time. That pride gets him killed. Lydia sells out everyone. Lydia survives by being useful and disposable at the same time. She gives up names, she throws Declan's crew to the Nazis, and she does whatever it takes to save herself. Loyalty means nothing to Lydia. Self-preservation is all that matters. In the end, Walt poisons her with ricin and her beloved stevia. She probably doesn't even know she's dying until it's too late. Saul's role in poisoning Brock. Saul Goodman isn't just a lawyer who looks the other way. He's complicit in some of Walt's worst schemes. Huell lifted the ricin cigarette from Jesse's pocket on Saul's orders. Saul knew what was happening, at least partially. In Better Call Saul's finale, Jimmy admits he didn't fully understand Walt's plan, but he knew enough. He knew Huell was stealing from his own client. He went along with it anyway. That's the thing about Saul. He's funny and he's charming and he's entertaining to watch.
What did the Academy hire you right out of the womb? You guys get younger every...
But when it mattered, he chose Walt's money over Jesse's trust. The consequences. Walt's family turns against him. For a man who claimed everything he did was for his family, the ending is brutal. When Walt Jr. finally learns the truth about his father, he calls 911 while Walt is still in the house, and he stands between Walt and Skyler to protect his mother. He refuses to ever speak to his father again, even rejecting a final phone call. This isn't betrayal, this is consequence. Walt spent 5 seasons betraying everyone who loved him, and in the end, his own son sees him for what he is. A monster. Walt wanted to be a provider, a protector, a patriarch. Instead, he became the thing his family needed protection from. Conclusion. What makes all these betrayals hit so hard isn't the violence. It's the intimacy. These aren't strangers hurting each other. They're partners, family, teachers and students, husbands and wives, people who ate dinner together, who watched each other's kids, who trusted each other with their lives. Breaking Bad keeps showing us the same thing over and over. Betrayal doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. It builds. Each small compromise makes the next one easier. Each lie clears the path for a bigger lie, and before you know it, you're watching your partner's girlfriend choke to death and deciding not to help. Walt started as a man who wanted to provide for his family, and he ended as a man who destroyed everyone who ever loved him. That's the real lesson of Breaking Bad. Betrayal might help you survive, it might even help you win, but it costs you everything worth winning for.